Your Fitness Business Podcast Snapshot. Advice on growing your brand, importance of brand consistency, building a community at Row House, and a staff's role in ensuring a strong community. All of that and more coming up in today's episode. Hey everyone, Dory Nugent here from the Fitness Business Podcast. Welcome to episode number 338. This week's interview is all about branding and community. Knowing your community helps to build your brand, and knowing your brand helps to build your community. They go hand in hand. Debra Strougo is our fitness expert this week, and she comes to us from Row House Fitness. But before we get started, let's hear a word from our podcast partner, Team Rockstar Fit.
Team Rockstar Fit is an award-winning mastermind team that helps fit pros lead happy and balanced lives. Get mentoring and support. Learn how to grow your business online with Beachbody. You can apply for a free consultation today at teamrockstarfit.com.
Debra Strougo, along with her husband Eric, founded Row House Fitness in 2014 with a single location. In 7 years, they have built Row House up to 300 franchise locations, with another 100 waiting to open. Row House is an indoor rowing boutique that is strong in community and even stronger with brand presence. I hope that you enjoyed this episode, so let's get started. Debra Strougo is here today from Row House Fitness Franchise, and she's going to talk to us about brand. Debra, welcome to the Fitness Business Podcast.
Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, I can't wait to hear what you have to say about brand and inform our listeners about how they can better brand their businesses. So it should be such a great episode. I'm sure you have tons of content for us. So we're going to get started right away. Knowing our audience, primarily fitness business owners, managers, department heads, what is your advice on how did you develop and grow the brand? You started as a single location, you're up to 300. What is your advice that you could give them on how to grow their brand?
Really understands the user that you're looking to target. So who is the user that you anticipate will use your product? Why are you creating it? What are you trying to solve for them? And then talk to them a lot, talk to them all through the process. Talk to them when they're first looking at your business before they even walk in, get a sense of what they're thinking, how they're feeling. Talk to them when they first walk in, really understand what they have to say. What is going to make them want to come in and to stay with you? What might keep them from coming in and staying with you? And then while they go through that further journey with you, did they enjoy their experience? Were there questions that they had to have? Figure out every single thing you can to really understand that user. And by the way, every user that comes through might not be the exact user you're looking for. So get back in line with who is the user that you're looking for. How are you going to develop this community and develop this experience for that user time and time again, consistently over and over, and then train to that. Make sure that you train every single aspect of your staff and crew, as we call it, to speak eloquently to that user and to make sure that you deliver that same promise to that user all of the time. And by the way, if somebody's not for you, don't worry. It is okay to say that I don't want an extremely competitive exerciser, for example, in my nice wee atmosphere where we're all about camaraderie. It's okay. There might be another home for that user. So don't chase every single user, but make sure that you have a really compelling value proposition for the people that are going to make your business thrive.
So you must have been reading my mind on that answer, because I wanted to ask you, there are just times where you think you know who is going to walk through your door. You think you know who your brand is. And then as you continue to grow, it changes. Did you ever find that you had to deviate from your brand because you're seeing a shift in your target market?
Well, that's an interesting question, Dory. I think there was a big use of the indoor rowing machine as a station and in the earlier days. And so people were always saying to us, make it more fun, for example, have people go from the rowing machine to the floor, to the this, to the that, and move around more, and, go for meters, not for time. And it was hard to argue against that request, right? It was hard to kind of put a stake in the ground and say, well, if I go for meters and you go for meters, one of us is going to get there quicker. You think that sounds fun, but actually that's deflating to me if I'm the one that's being left behind. It was very hard to put stakes in the ground on some of the programming that we put stakes in the ground on, because the market was in a different place. But ultimately, I think that going back again to kind of the problem you're trying to solve and how you can communicate that to the users, that nobody wants to be left behind. Everybody wants to be successful and everybody wants to feel completion, right? The more you're able to really feel strong about that culture and that community, then you can explain better to people who are asking you to do things differently, the why behind what you do. So I do think there were points where we were pressured and maybe we would try, but we would pretty quickly come back to, this is who we are and this is why we want to stay here.
Okay, so I am no doubt a part of our fitness business podcast family. We have franchisee owners out there listening today. You're a prime example how you started with one, you are up to 300 plus, probably by the end of 2021. So over those 7 years, you have grown so much. How do you ensure brand consistency across your company and your franchises?
Oh, yes. Well, this is a hugely important topic. Obviously, in 2017, we went ahead and, as I told you, teamwork makes the dream work. We did a strategic partnership with Exponential Fitness. And so a lot of our quick growth came in late 17, early 18, where we went out and started to really multiply and bring more franchisees into the system. Now, that being said, the brand trainings that people go through, again, the brand's pillars, understanding why we wear Pull Together, why Pull Together is in every studio, our boat graphic, everyone has a purpose. This is all very, very strictly trained on through the system. And it's not only to benefit the franchise owners in bringing on their staff, right? So that when they bring on staff, they're bringing on people who feel like-minded, who feel passionate about this culture, who want to be a part of this culture, but it's also to help the clients that come through the system. So one of the great things about franchising is, of course, there's a lot more storefronts or units beyond the one that you own as a franchise owner. And of course, that creates unity and brand expectations. And Dory, you mentioned to me that you're in Jacksonville, and I know, you could go out and visit somebody that you know in Chicago, and you could then go in and see a second franchise location, right? And have that same feel and go to the front desk and really say, oh, wow, those people, I just felt like I was at home at my home studio. And again, this is because of really strong training protocols, really strong value proposition, making sure that people come through the system are people who know about it and feel about it. And so overall, we can continue to fine tune those processes over time and just use that growth and use that larger footprint to help evolve the individual units as they expand.
There's something to be said for, an individual freestanding mom and pop gym. So one, it's the only, right? But like you said, it's like Starbucks in a way. I can go down the street to the Starbucks, order my drink, and I can order the same exact drink in, we'll stick with Chicago. Shout out to all the Chicago listeners out there, and put the same order in and get the expectation of the same exact drink. It tastes the same way. So yeah, brand consistency. Do you hold meetings? Do you visit sites? Do you have conferences to make sure that all 300 up and running units are running the same exact way?
Yes, and also there are a lot of materials that are delivered from at the franchise level. So if we're looking at the year and the calendar and saying, what types of activations, what types of special programming, what type of collateral are we going to put out in the market, that is also coming from the franchisor. And this happens in most franchise relationships. And so, of course, then the franchisee can then utilize that information. The beauty of that is, yes, to your point, it creates great brand consistency, but also what it does is it helps the owner of the specific unit to have many less things to worry about, right? So they don't have to worry about designing the materials. They don't have to worry about ideating the materials, but there's still plenty to do in that local business, right? Our franchise partners are people who know their communities. They know their communities well. They know them inside and out. They know where to go out and to put those materials out. They know how to, create excitement and awareness and exposure in their markets. And because of that, they're focused more so on growing their business, but luckily have this process. And again, these materials and a system, quite frankly, that they could leverage to make it a lot easier. When I started my businesses with my husband, Eric, back in 2014, we had to create the brands and we had to create the processes and all of that. So I think that, to your point, the brands is delivered from the franchisor, and it's just to help further the process so that there's less to worry about for those franchise partners that are on the ground.
Yeah, so you're heading into 7 years. Are you still tweaking the brand?
Yes, we have worked very nicely with our partners at Exponential, obviously with the team, to look at, let's fine tune the sales process. Now, how can we fine tune the sales process within our brands, within our modality, within our language? How do we do that together? Marketing, how do we go out and take our marketing so that we're finding the people that care about our brands the most? For example, people who have substantial weight loss needs. For example, people who have injuries from press. How do we continue to do that? So it's a very iterative process. I think a lot of founders will say there's always a need to kind of, work through things and stay involved, especially as you get feedback, right, from the market and see, what's working, what's not. Bringing in new hires, bringing in new staff, what was missing when the telephone game was told, what could be a little more tightened. And I do think we're constantly evolving and just working as a team to get to a better place every day.
All right, Debra, let's shift a little bit, okay?
Yes.
Row House is known for two things. One, branding, obviously. Number two, community. So let's talk a little bit about the community within Row House. Let's talk about the community that's associated with your brand. I read an article in the U.S. Chamber of Commerce. You were interviewed, and you talked about the secret sauce. Let's hear.
Wow, the secret sauce.
You quoted, you're like, I think I know the secret sauce. So how about you share? You're probably like, when was that I said that? I do lots of digging. I like to dig and see what I can find. Share with our listeners out there about your secret sauce with community within your four walls.
Our community is made up of people that are varied. Everybody has a purpose. And so while we are like-minded in that we are people that are interested in fitness and we are interested in authentic fitness, by the way, right? That's why we go after rowing. We are very focused on inclusivity, camaraderie, and being rewarding. We are focused on having a rewarding experience. Now, what that means is, again, I may be exercising right next to a superstar Olympic athlete. My husband would like to think that that's him, perhaps, or next to my grandmother. And we're both going to row and sink. That's one very important thing at Row House. We are going to row together. We are going to row and sink, and we will do it at different intensity levels. And really what that is about for us is that's about people feeling great and walking around feeling like they are a part of something and they're a part of our community. So if you want to know our special sauce to the community building at Row House, our brand is for everyone to feel like they are a part of something pulled together. Whether you are an Olympian and I'm motivated and inspired by you, or whether I'm, coming in the first time ever and I might be in a boot with an issue in my foot, a broken ankle rowing, and you're inspired by me for actually doing it instead of sitting on my couch. There is a common inspiration and aspiration that develops in the Row House community. And us dialing up that community means that we have beautiful, broad businesses because there are people of all types that need to get started on fitness every day.
You said there in that last segment, everybody has a purpose. Absolutely love that. I think that's a beautiful statement. I think it's a beautiful statement for your members to hear. If I were to ask a couple of your members for them to define what their community was like inside a Row House, what do you think they would say?
They will talk. If you ask to the Row House members about the community, they will tell you how their row house has been their savior, especially in some of the recent issues that we've had with, isolation and disease. The row house community has been there for them. They've called and had a warm, friendly voice on the other side of the line. We have extended our arms out as much as we could, just really to be there for our people. Certainly to exercise with them wherever that's been possible, but also just to support them. Just to, we had a franchise partner in Texas, Ruben, I'll give him a shout out, calling people, just saying, how are you? And having 20 to 30 minute conversations because people weren't getting out of their houses. Boutique Fitness has created that for people in so many ways. It's given them a local community. We all know about the whole sweat working and the, fitness has become church and all of that. And so Row House has been, extremely focused on doing that wherever we possibly can. So I think that that's one thing that our members would really acknowledge is that they come and they get a warm smile. It's never about the intimidation factor. The workout is really kind of a byproduct of them being a part of this really strong community.
Now, if I asked your staff members, let's say I asked one from Chicago and one from Jacksonville, would your staff members give this pretty darn close same exact answer on what community is within Row House?
Yeah, I think they'd say hashtag pull together.
See, Debra, right there, when you said hashtag pull together, that to me shows how on top of it your franchise is with branding, making sure you're consistent, making sure the expectation is the same. I mean, that's genius. That's what you preach. Hashtag pull together. I love that. So what role does your staff and how much pressure do you put on your staff to continue to grow the community, to grow the camaraderie within Row House?
Well, one key thing that everybody in Row House needs to do is educate people on why rowing. That's one really, really important piece. And that's been a huge focus of mine and of my husband's. Obviously, as fitness experts, we know inside and out all of the amazing benefits of rowing. And of course, we want people to come into the studio without even knowing those benefits, right? Because they drove by it or they saw it or they bumped into a friendly person in the street. So what we've really had to spend a good chunk of time on is making sure that each of our staff members is not only friendly and outgoing and welcoming and inclusive and all those things we talked about, but also really understands the benefits of rowing so that if somebody comes in, takes the class and walks out and is like, oh, I didn't get it, they can really help them understand why to come back. Because you know what? Rowing is like other things. It's something new, and you're not necessarily going to, quote, feel it on the first visit, right? And so sometimes you have to stick with things. And we come from a society of people that don't always want to learn or come back and try again. So that's really what we also have needed to do as a just disrupting concept. This is a concept that people haven't spent so much time doing. They don't row the way they ride a bike, right? So it's not as quick for it to sink in. But once they get over that hump, they love it, and it's a lifelong sport, and they'll stay with us forever. So we do need our staff to really work that through. And we've created some other systems and protocols so that there are more touch points as well to get that education piece across. But working that education into the brands is very, very important to us.
Now, I know you're probably not going to want to admit it, but I get asked this question a lot by some of our listeners. They always are like, I wish you would have asked this question. So I'm going to ask you this question. Having so many different 300 plus you're growing, what happens when you have a location that maybe isn't upholding to the brand as well as you would like, or doesn't have the camaraderie and the community that you expect being a row house facility? How do you and your husband handle that?
Well, I think what happens is you recognize that there's just something missing, and the corporate team is really, really great at this, at looking and saying, what is missing? And our national sales director is on top of this all the time, just saying, what are we missing there? Why is this happening? Can we help train up this person a little bit more? Is it the right staff? Is it the right, coaching? And listen to client feedback too. If clients are saying there was no energy in the studio, then we kind of have to double down and say, okay, what was your music level at? There can be very simple, easy things to fix that need to be fixed. So I think overall, the brand standards, the expectations from one studio to the next really do kind of like lay it out. But sometimes people just need refreshers on that too, because maybe they were having an off day when they sat through it. So really, that's the answer to your question, Dory. It's, there should be unity and consistency across the businesses. And if something's underperforming, there's kind of a system of which, we can look through and say, what was the reason and how could we refresh to lift that up again as a team?
Yeah, I mean, I know it's a tough, nobody wants to admit that, hey, everything's not perfect all the time, but I do feel that our listeners look to us sometimes. They're always looking to us for help, ideas, but sometimes, they're like, listen, this is what we're struggling with. And, we'd like to hear what other people are struggling with and how do they handle it, and their process of, okay, this isn't going well. Here's how we go about it. So great answer.
Yeah.
Great.
And to further answer that question, I think it goes back to listen really well. Put your ear to the ground, no matter what level of any business you're at. If you're the leader of the business, if you're the owner of a location, if you're on the desk, wherever you're at and at whatever point in time you're at in the evolution of the business, put your ear to the ground and really, really hear what people have to say. Overhear conversations, sit around and overhear them. And sometimes even our staff has said to me, I don't want to tattle on this one or that one. And it's not tattling, it's just improving. It's just giving feedback. And I've said to them back, if I hear one time that XYZ staff member is maybe not nice enough to guests or something like that, I will just file that away in the back of my head. I'm not going to act on that until maybe it's happened a few times, 2, 3, 4, 5 times. And then you see a consistent thing. And then you notice also that their production numbers or their sales numbers are a little lower. And then you get to a place where you're saying, okay, I think that there's a problem there that I need to solve. So of course, feedback is really good and really, really helpful to help identify just places that there might be problems that you need to improve upon.
Get your pen ready now for Keep Me's Fit Bizpiration.
What are your 3 tips for building a community within a business?
First tip is know your user. Know your user inside and out. Know everything that makes them tick, and make sure when you talk to them, you are saying what they want to hear. Second tip, listen to what they have to say, but don't forget to close them. People need guidance and they want you to tell them what to do. So tell them what to do. Third tip, keep your ear to the ground. Always keep your ear to the ground. Make sure you know everything going on inside your business, inside and out. Get a constant feedback loop going. Figure out how to get a constant feedback loop going, and you will be golden.
Keep Me, smarter member retention. KeepMe.ai.
Let's get back to the episode. FBP family, if there is a row house near you, you have to go and visit it, try it out, check out their brand, check out their community within their studio. I'm telling you, you will not be disappointed. Debra, you and your husband, Eric, have done such a wonderful job at branding this franchise, this concept, and again, building such a great community for everyone. So thank you so much for sharing your expertise today.
Thank you so much. And also, we need to tell the listeners, please do not be shy. Do not feel shy. If you are looking to get off the couch, if you are looking to get started in something new, I know that we were talking to fitness business and fitness professionals out there, but sometimes we do too. A lot of us have put on the COVID-19. And, we will teach you what you need to know about rowing, and we will make you feel warm and welcome no matter where you are in your fitness journey.
Oh my goodness, how passionate and energized was Debra when she talked about Row House? Such a fun guest. Well, a special, warm, gracious thank you, Debra, from everyone here at the Fitness Business Podcast. We certainly do appreciate your time and for sharing your knowledge on what worked for you and Eric when it came to branding a successful fitness business. It is time for a few words from our podcast partner, MyZone. MyZone has pioneered unique wearables with talking point technology that makes the difference. Reach more members of your community and keep them engaged for longer through motivation and gamification wherever they choose to work out. In the gym, at home, or outdoors, we're stronger together. Get in the zone at myzone.org.
Quickfire 5.
It's time for Quickfire 5 with our upcoming guest, Nick Parker from Lead Lion Marketing. It's time for our Quickfire 5 questions with next week's guest, Nick Parker from Lead Lion Marketing. Nick, welcome.
Thanks for having me, Dory. So excited to be here.
All right. Well, let's get started with your Quickfire 5 questions. Number 1, what was a business or life lesson you learned from one of the jobs you did when you were younger?
Never give up. When I was 19 years old, was sales manager, came down to last day, saved the gym in 24 hours. So you never give up.
Okay. Number 2, if you were not doing what you are doing now, what would you be doing?
I'd be on an island, own a tiki bar and beachside water sports company.
Now that's my kind of answer.
Yeah.
All right. Number 3, when you write your autobiography, what will be the title?
It ain't over. It's never over till it's truly over. So we give up too early. So it ain't over.
All right. It Ain't Over by Nick Parker. We'll look for that maybe next year. How does that sound?
That sounds good. End of year.
All right. Speaking of books, could you give us one book that you recommend to our FBP listeners?
Entrepreneur Roller Coaster by Darren Hardy. If you're a business owner, you've experienced every emotion and procrastination he's talked about in the book. You'll resonate well with it. It always reminds me. It's a good book.
Okay, good. I haven't heard that one before, so it sounds like a good recommendation. And finally, give us your best sales pitch why our listeners should come back next week to hear your wisdom.
Oh, that's a great one. So we work with health clubs and gyms and fitness centers all over the place, and we have inside information for you, a sneak peek how to get your ROI to see amazing sales results increase your bottom line in the first 30 days. I promise you don't want to miss this. It's going to be packed full of great information.
Okay, FBP family, you heard it straight from Nick Parker. Join us next week as he talks about marketing your fitness business. Here's a message from our podcast partner, Precor.
Tribe, if you haven't explored a functional training space for your gym, then now is the time. With Queenex Functional Training by Precor, there is a unit to fit every space. Plus, education is included to ensure that training is delivered with confidence. You need to jump online and check this out right now. Go to precor.com/fitness business podcast.
Head on over to our show notes at fitnessbusinesspodcast.com to learn more about Row House Fitness franchise and how you can contact Debra and Eric if you have any further questions. I know they would love to hear from you. Next up, a message from our founding partner, Active Management.
Hi FBP family, it's JT from Active Management, the founding partner of the Fitness Business Podcast. Thanks to the amazing technology at our fingertips, we can now work with clients all over the world. But right now, you can join the free online Active Management Facebook community. It's an amazing group of people just like you. Sure, I share weekly resources, but it's the power of the community that you will experience that will make this your go-to Facebook group. Remember, it's free, fun, and inspirational. Go to facebook.com/groups/Active Management Community.
What you leave behind is not what's engraved in stone monuments, but what is woven into the lives of others.